Dr. Koushik Lahiri is invited to the stage. He is going to deliver this Ambady Oration. And as you all know, Dr. Bhaskar Menon, Dr. Koushik, yeah. Can we have this slide on Dr. Ambady? Dr. Bhaskar Menon Ambady was born on 25th December 1912. He was the first head of department at Trivandrum Medical College, Kerala in 1954. He is from the army, and this Ambady Oration was started in February 76 at IADVL conference in New Delhi. This award is given to a person who has done significant and commendable job for our specialty. And the first speaker for the Ambady Oration was Dr. Ram Linga Swami. He was from AIMS. And today we have Koushik Lahiri. He is from Kolkata. About Dr. Koushik Lahiri, I'll request Dr. Srinivas to just narrate his biodata.
Can I have this thing of Dr. Lahiri, please? Dr. Lahiri is known to one and all, and just not known. He's very dear to all of us. Dr. Koushik Lahiri has got many contributions to IADVL. What is there, you can read. What is not there, I will tell you. He basically established the ACAD. ACAD has changed the face of dermatology in the country. We now talk to each other every day on all sorts of problems related to IADVL. He was also the secretary, and during his tenure as a secretary, he brought in many changes. And that he is very much into the academics is evident by the fact that he is the editor of one of the best circulated, very well-known journals of India, the Indian Journal of Dermatology. With these few words, and his contribution to vitiligo is very well known. So with these few words, I request my very good friend, Dr. Koushik Lahiri, to deliver this prestigious Ambady Oration. Dr. Lahiri, please.
Thank you, Chairpersons. Respected dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, my respected teachers, colleagues, friends, and juniors. This is definitely I'm privileged and proud to be here in front of you to deliver the Ambady Oration for this year. And as you know, this is a photograph of Dr. Bhaskar Menon Ambady. And he was born exactly 28 days before this, that is on 28th of December 1912. So that means just 28 days back we had the 100th birthday of this great person. So I especially am privileged and I feel lucky to be here in front of you. And thank you, respected jury, the members of the jury, the Central Scientific Committee, for giving me this opportunity for this unique fit that in the birth centenary of M Ambady, I'm here in front of you. Thank you very much, sirs. This is the declaration of conflict of interest. This is not the abstract of the lecture, this is actually the title of the lecture. The concept of clinical cellular sterility and its importance in autologous mini-punch grafting and narrowband ultraviolet B phototherapy in replenishment and reactivation of melanocyte and stable vitiligo. As you notice, there are two parts of this, and I'll take this part first, and then I'll go to the next in the second half. Great things are not done by impulse, but by a series of small things brought together, led by Vincent van Gogh. What are the aims and objectives of the study? Establishment of histological basis of surgical repigmentation with grafting and neurobiology, to explore the concept of clinical cellular stability of vitiligo, a term that we have coined about 12 years back, to determine the criteria of stability of vitiligo, the selection of ideal cases for grafting, region-wise comparison that was done for the first time in India, appearance of repigmentation time with post-grafting phototherapy. Another part, that is region-wise comparison of extent of perigraph sprayed of pigment in post-grafting phototherapy. establishing the relationship with the donor graft area and the area of repigmentation, evaluating the role of narrowband in transplanted area, and developing techniques to reduce and treat in unwanted complications. And as you know, what yesterday Dr. C.R. Srinivas has told, that now we have hard data that 9.92% of Indian population are probably suffering from vitiligo. So that is a huge number, about 12 or 13 crore cases of social disease that we can try to give some relief to some of our patients. I still remember Sajid, Muhammad Sajid, not our first patient in 1993, but I think, to be very honest, he was the second patient. The first patient, the result was disastrous. And the second patient, when he put some punch graft, this was taken by analog camera, FM10, that those days I was having. And after this result, you can appreciate this, I think, this was when the entire department was very happy, and we continued with our punches, so the prehistory punches, 3 mm or 2.5 mm punches those days. And we continued these photographs from the last century actually. And the result was not that bad. From this to this, even with 3 mm punches. And I still remember the taste of the biryani that Sajid's father brought for the whole department. For any journey, that is small or big, you need some teachers and mentors, philosophers, guides and friends. And I respectfully remember some of them. My first teacher in post-graduation, Professor Pradeep Kumar Gogo, I mentioned him with deepest of respect. Professor Sujit Ranjan Sengupta, I think he is in the auditorium. Without Dr. Sengupta, I couldn't have come here and reach here. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Subrata Malakar, the pioneering dermatosurgeon in India who taught me about punch grafting. Dr. Shandip Andhar, and I don't think I have enough words, enough courage to describe Dr. Shandip Andhar. All I can say, without Dr. Shandip Andhar, I am incomplete. Thank you, Shandip Andhar, for being with me. And another gentleman from another hemisphere. Those days we didn't have any e-communication, any email. I used to write to this gentleman, sir, I don't get you this article. And he used to send huge parcels by post with this affectionate writing on it. And he was none other than the father of vitiligo surgery, Dr. Rafael Falabella, whom ultimately I could meet in 2009 in San Francisco. And Dr. Satish Sawant. Not only me, an entire generation of dermatologists from India, we were inspired by the works of Dr. Satish Sawant. How it is done, it is very simply, as needless to describe the exact technique, but what we did, we don't use any small jeweller's faucet, we use the carved-tip scissor to harvest the graft. And we don't put it in any petri dish, we directly place from the donor area to the recipient chambers with the needle of the anesthesia. And this is how it looks like. And another modification is we never use any punch more than 1 or 1.5 mm these days. And the donor area is always, for my patients, upper thigh or gluteal area. Yes, it is true, even for mucocutaneous junctions like lip, because there is a term called recipient dominance. It takes the characteristic of the recipient area. Grafts are placed directly, and same size punches, that is also a little deviation from what was taught earlier. So this is how it looks like, and this is the methodology. I can skip. And what we did, after doing punch grafting and PUVA sol for 10 years, from 93-94 till 2002, we shifted completely to narrowband for all our punch patients. And this is the machine that we all are using. This is how we do the measurement. So these are some early studies, earliest pigmentation, latest and largest. Maximum pigment rate in this region, that is 2 to 7 mm. So the relationship between the donor graft area and the area of repigmentation, this was done at the request of Dr. Rafael Falabella. In Indian population, again, first time it was done. Suppose this is a size, the diameter of 1.5, and this is the radius, and we calculated how much it is surgically pigmented, And this is the relationship that we published in International Journal. And this is one of the earlier charts. Mean appearance of repigmentation time in our study was 20 days. Narrowband UVB helps like this, exposure with this, increment 20%, twice or thrice weekly treatment, duration 1 year. Minimal erythema is optimal for melanocyte multiplication. This is the basic that you all know. Repigmentation expected after 6 weeks. 100 MET can be given annually. Face to leg repigment, well, face, trunk, arm, leg in this way. Lips, nipple, wrist, ankle, genitalia. Well, I'll show you some interesting slides here. Patient motivation is very important. This is one of the earlier slides. You can see the result. And needless to describe, this is before, this is after. These are the initial fairy tale that I am sharing with you. Excellent result with Panchas. She was class 10. In class 10, now she is in Silicon Valley in San Francisco. Her life is completely changed, and any value can do. It's one of the tough areas on the upper lip, but you can appreciate the change. Lower lip, this patient is famous. This photo is there in many textbooks also. And we have the biggest series of leaf grafting in the world. And this result is also was quite interesting with mini grafting. I don't think we can you appreciate the changes? It completely changed the life of the patient. I think the slides are a little dark. If it's possible to increase the brightness, because it's a completely visual based. Can you see? It's a little dark. It's completely changed the life. On the eyelids is one of the best areas where you can put punches. And the change, the leukotrichia is also gets reversed. It's one of the best area for punches. Today I'm sharing some slides which I've never shared before. Even last week also the patient, I took photographs. This patient was last week. You can see the change here. Not only the skin, there's replenishment in the hair root also. The changes is evident before you. Those are some good results. And this patient was important, not only because of good repigmentation, but this is the first time reversal of leukotrichia after punch grafting was documented. Before that, there was a study by Agrawal where they have shown, Agrawal was a group, they have shown the replenishment of reversal of leukotrichia after melanocyte transplant and with STSG. But this is with mini grafting. You can see the complete change in the leukotrichia and the flattening of cobblestone. Once you develop the technique, then you can place grafts anywhere in the body. You can see anywhere in the body you can place the grafts and get some good results. This is a textbook photograph which is there in the ACSI textbook. And this is how you should place the different layers of dressing on this interesting area. And the result was also, this is a daughter of a doctor in Kolkata. She was the first girl in the class and used to always be in a very, very depressed mood. But now her life again has changed with a simple technique. There's a case of hello nevus, the central hello was removed and that was enough. Anybody can do. There's a stubborn area. Anywhere you can do. On external genitalia, I was fortunate, the patient was fortunate. On the pinna, I did many cases on ear, and the results are good. And I don't have time to do a large patient like this, but this is again from the last century. And I have never used any glue in my patients. And this is a non-Montgomery is typical. This is the natural punches that looks almost like Montgomery is. So on nipple also, it's a very good technique if you properly use 1.5 mm or 1 mm punches. 1.5 actually is my favorite. The histological basis also we have established in a study in 1998. This is hematoxylinosin of vitiligo slide. And the repigmentation also was documented in various parts of the body. We took biopsy after the surgical repigmentation. And we documented our result in 30 cases. And the first article in the global literature on sponge grafting and narrowband UVB is a very highly quoted. That was in International Journal in about 6 years back. This is the article. So this is the latest views of these, and why exactly narrowband is helping is here. Narrowband UVB actually promote the T-cell apoptosis. That's why it helps. Perilesion and uncirculating melanocyte-specific cytotoxic CD8 cells have been identified, and it's also found that UVB therapy promotes the T-cell apoptosis. So 1 + 1 is always 2. Not in medicine, not in dermatology. I'll come to that later on. These are the complications that we can expect. The recipient side, cobblestone, polka dotting. These all are avoidable. These all are definitely preventable. Perigraft halo, and not always it's preventable. Graft dislodgement, hypertrophic scar. Donor site, as you all know, this may not be preventable in most of the cases. The upshot is mini grafting remains the easiest, fastest, cheapest. If deployed properly, it can evoke excellent results. Stability must be assured. Optimal punch sizes of 1 to 1.5. Cobblestone polka dotting may occur, but it gradually vanishes. Narrowband UVB evokes excellent result. And then the lead happens. Fairy tale? Not really. Whatever I have described till now is only the half part of the moon, one side of the moon. And what is the other side? Localized static vitiligo, non-segmental for 3 years. I was very happy. I was very confident. I did grafting, and all the grafts are depigmented. Why? I didn't have any answer. And this is a spreading non-segmental vitiligo. So if it is spreading, it must be unstable. I placed a few test grafts, and the unstable vitiligo, all the grafts are spreading pigment. This patient with a localized static non-segmental vitiligo for 7 years, static for 7 years in all the global studies, more than 1 year is enough. Go ahead. Is it stable? I placed some grafts. All the grafts are depigmented. So doubt is challenging you, and you do not act. Doubts will grow, and challenge the doubt with action, and you will grow. Doubt and action are incompatible. So what he did? We remember Jacques Derrida, the theory of deconstruction. Actually, the whole concept of stability of vitiligo is nothing but a reconstruction of that deconstruction theory. How? Falabella taught us when recovery depends on a viable melanocyte reservoir, and in many patients with vitiligo, repigmentation is possible when pigment cells are stimulated with appropriate topical and oral medicines. Nevertheless, when pigment cells are completely destroyed, melanocyte transplantation may be the best therapeutic approach. When the melanocyte reservoir integrity, very interesting article by Falabella, published in IADVL, of providing pigment cells leading to successful repigmentation. Leukotrichia indicates exhaustion of the melanocyte reservoir, and casticious site of poor prognosis. So, you assess stability. That was the classical stability assessment. From history, from Kobler phenomenon, from test grafting, a first year or second year postgraduate will tell you how to assess stability. Why test? Establish the stability status, determine the means by which the patient could be selected, identifying patients who may respond to pigment transplantation. Okay, so how about this aspect of stability? Does the stability test address the area-specific or lesion-specific stability? No. Define the minimum duration of stability? Nobody is sure. Validity of mini-graft test till today, it is not fully validated. How long the test stability lasts? There are different opinions. Concept of cellular stability, it is not at all addressed in this original test. Zhu and Westerhoff, they told the stability is taken as the most important parameter before opting for any transplantation technique to treat vitiligo. So if it is that important, then period of stability, there should be a unanimity globally. Is there anything? 4 months by Dr. Pastricha, by Dr. Das, earliest articles, 6 months by Westerhoff, 1 year in IADVL by Dr. Jha Pandey, 2 years by Dr. Sawant, and the result is varied from 4 months to 3 years. Our friends, Dr. Prasad, Dr. Prasad and Dr. Somesh Gupta, they came out with a wonderful article that is by the task force, an IADVL task force. The available evidence is sufficient to recommend a single cut-off period. There is no single cut-off period. To facilitate consensus on this issue, the task force attempt to provide clear definition of stability. A patient reporting no new lesion, no progression of existing lesion, and absence of cognitive phenomenon for 1 year. And are you over-dependent on pruners? Are you over-dependent on disc grafting? Let's see. Falabella told in 1992, when the mini-grafting test is positive, depigmenting activity may be present and prevent satisfactory repigmentation. So it is not valid in that term. Falabella in 2003 told 2-year period time used to confirm stability is controversial since there has been established arbitrarily. It's a puzzle. Causing disorder characterized by disappearance of epidermal and of follicular melanocyte by unknown, unexplained mechanism. How to understand stability from within? Patients with vitiligo have been... Stability of repigmentation by our friend Dr. Prasad. They opined that if after the grafting for 1 year the pigmentation is stable, then it should be taken as stability of the repigmentation. Let us focus on this clinical slide. Simultaneous reactivation and deactivation in the same area. We placed the grafts on 12th of June 2004, and in the month of August, some of the grafts are spreading pigment. You can see here, you can see the spreading pigment. And some of the grafts we have just placed, we know that it will also spread pigment. In our next slide, we will show you that. All the grafts are spreading pigment. Excellent. Now, concentrate on these lesions. This is sharply demarcated, and in the next slide, it is getting smaller. So that means it is excellent. There is no activity. You go for punch. And in the same anatomical location where the other punch is a spreading pigment, this lesion has decided to spread itself. And the graft you have placed is depigmented. Do you have any explanation based on our knowledge on this topic? No. Again, the spermal patient, concentrate on the upper lip, not on the lower lip. Spontaneous repigmentation on the upper lip. We never did anything on the upper lip. Lower lip repigmented, upper lip also repigmented when it is not touched. We have seen this in other body areas. Test grafting on the right lower leg, spontaneous repigmentation on the left lower leg. You can see the test grafting is done on the right lower leg and spontaneous pigmentation on the left lower leg. And simultaneous depigmentation in other body parts in the same patient. So is the patient stable or not stable? First article, How Unstable is the Concept of Stability in Surgical Repigmentation of Vitiligo, published. I'm absolutely confident that it will be a wonderful result, and it was a wonderful disaster. On the upper lip, all the grafts are depigmented by the same set of surgeon, by the same machines, same patient, and the patient is again unstable. And if it is unstable, simultaneously the donor site is completely repigmented. So that means we know nothing about the stability concept of vitiligo. The grafts are placed. I'm very happy. The whole world is very happy. We have placed this photograph in international journal, in Willie Blackwell textbook, and the patient comes back to you after 10 years, and that does prick a pin in the balloon of your ego if the patient looks like this after 10 years. How unstable is the stability concept? Where do you stand? Can you really predict the outcome based on clinical stability? Do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large and I contain multitude by well treatment. Is it said from vitiligo? I don't know. Stability, the basic concept of stability of vitiligo was challenged based on the clinical parameters. When the question of stability is discussed along with the clinical observation, cellular parameters should be taken into consideration. An attempt should be made to clearly fathom stability, not merely on the clinical, but on the microscopy, histological analysis, the lesion and non-lesional skin of vitiligo patients. We have our articles on this, concept of stability in various journals all over the world. Very interesting article by Dr. Prasad, melanocytourage and apoptosis. They have proposed the non-segmental vitiligo actually is a melanocytourgic disorder. Very interesting, but this article I will single out as an epoch-making article by my friend Dr. Sudesh Gupta. We always dreamt that something is there at the, not at the clinical level, but at this microscopical, at the histogeological level. They have detected the markers of stability of vitiligo, and then observed that the percentage of CD8 and CD45RO in lesional skin biopsy may provide the objective indication of a lesion or area-based stability, where we conceptualized in 2099. Finally, we have an evidence to tell that yes, we were correct. They have also observed that the higher percentage of cytotoxic CD8 cells is associated with failure of melanocyte transplantation. We revised our article on concepts of stability based on all these latest findings. We have various publications on many international journals. All these are indexed journals. On this topic, I have several publications, some book chapters, particularly on these topics. These are the book chapters. And we have presented all over the globe, probably except in North Pole and South Pole, in various congresses. And as the only Indian dermatologist, I was interviewed also in the official Congress newspaper during the World Congress in Buenos Aires. That is also on this aspect. In Lisbon, in various other international congresses, in Tehran, in South Africa. The upshot is, when the question of stability is discussed, along with the clinical picture, the cellular parameters should also be taken into consideration. When these ultra-structural investigation facilities are now available, an attempt should be made to clearly fathom stability, not merely on clinical ground, but on the perilesional, non-lesional area histoenzymatological analysis. Probably the growth factors are also responsible. We should look into this. And understanding of the area-based variable status that we have coined this first time in the world literature, the limited period of inertia of activity might necessitate, this is important for our junior colleagues, test grafting at various sites at different time intervals. Not one test grafting will ensure the stability for the next 15 years. No. No preconceived, biased and arbitrary formula should guide us to assess stability of vitiligo before embarking upon any surgical alternative. Till this unexplained, unexplored areas are charted, we should not refrain from choosing the grafting option, surgical option, rather judging every patient as a unique one, and logical explanation of clinical knowledge may be very important. Some other mentors and very close well-wishers were there. One of them is one of the prolific worker of vitiligo from India, the Rees Castellani Award winner, Professor A.K. Dotto, was always with us, with me till 2003 when he breathed his last. And my first, formal teacher of dermatology other than my father from undergraduate days, believe it or not, this is Dr. Arijit Kundu in 1994. Actually, when I was a student, he was even 10 kilo thinner than this. My father, Dr. Koushik Lahiri, my father, he would have been the happiest if he was here in this auditorium. We have lost him in 2006. My mother. By the time a man realizes that maybe his father was right, he usually has a son who thinks he is wrong. That is by Charles Swartwood. And don't laugh, because to complicate the matter a little more, not only a son, I do have a daughter, and you have guessed it right that I have a wife also. And officially, all I can say, because it is being videographed, thank you very much. And all my staffs in Rita Skin Foundation, wisdom. And I still remember this patient when I requested her to look at me. All she did was did this. And this is one of the saddest moments in my clinical practice. But she's not alone. Now we know after Dr. Srinivasan's study, we have 12-13 crores of his brothers and sisters all over India at least. What we tried to touch a few thousand with punch and with narrow band UPV, and the result was gratifying. A few thousand of these 12 crores that we could touch. The dream is not what we see in sleep. Dream is something which does not let you sleep. That is by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So let's dream, let's walk. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this.
An excellent talk on this puzzling and...
I request the chairpersons to be in the center of the stage, please. I request Dr. Talwar to honor Dr. Lahiri with bouquet and a shawl. I request Dr. Srinivas to present him with the memento. And request Dr. Kamdar to present him with the M Ambady certificate. Thank you. From 10:30 a.m. onwards, the sessions are to be held at other halls also. So all the chairpersons are requested to be at their respective halls. All the chairpersons are also requested to collect the certificates from the accrediting council.